All right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Hurricanes. This is a team that looks a shoo-in for a college football playoff first round bye. But we have an interesting article today that kind of talks about some interesting hurdles that the Miami Hurricanes may, run into coming into this next game. It's a hurdle depending on what you think of their next opponent in Syracuse. I think there's some really interesting stuff going on for Miami. But first, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Miami Hurricanes, really interesting situation brought up by Reese Davis at ESPN pertaining to Miami and this college football playoff berth. They're saying at one juncture, Miami's shoo-in for that first round bye, but at the other juncture, if it goes a different way, they could possibly not be making the college football playoff at all, depending on this next game. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from Kane's Warning. College Football Playoff Committee Chairman Wade Manuel spoke to Reese Davis of ESPN as the rankings were revealed entering the final weekend of the regular season. Manuel stated that Miami winning close games and dominantly has impressed the committee. After winning their 4 non-conference games by an average of 42 points, Miami began ACC play with 3 wins by 12 points. Miami has an average margin of 24 points in its last 3 wins, with a 28-3 loss at Georgia Tech during that same time. The Hurricanes are showing their ability to win convincingly and in close games. Miami could potentially be in a 1-game de facto playoff at Syracuse on Saturday. Very interesting. If Miami beats Syracuse to earn a berth into the ACC championship game, they are likely in the playoff no matter what the outcome is in Charlotte at the ACC championship game. But a loss to Syracuse will probably eliminate Miami from the college football playoff. I think this is really interesting. Miami's ability to beat opponents big has helped them out a lot. I think they probably will beat Syracuse, so this will be a good game for them. But it's an interesting situation for the Hurricanes. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Hurricanes fans, in the comment section below, I want to hear your thoughts on what's going to happen this weekend against Syracuse. Let us know in the comment section below what you think the final score is going to be. You think they blow them out again? As the article alluded to, they've beaten a lot of teams really big. Or is it going to be a close one? Are you going to be nervous whether this team makes it to the playoff or not? Let us know in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think all of this means for Miami?
So first and foremost, right, any team that's trying to be a playoff contender, if you lose to Syracuse, nothing against Syracuse, you're probably going to be eliminated. Let's be totally honest, right? It doesn't matter if you're Alabama, if you're Georgia, if you're Texas. If you lose to Syracuse, the final regular season game of the season, or a Syracuse equivalent, you're probably going to get eliminated, right? That's just the reality. So there's no real big concern there. But there's another part in this article that goes down, and I think it talks about Miami's strength. And people are very critical of the Hurricanes. But listen to this from that same article talking about the reporter. This is Reese Davis interviewing the College Football Playoff Committee member. We value ultimately when teams do find a way to win. Miami has done both. They've dominated teams and they had some very close games. Even the loss to Georgia Tech was a close game. We value teams that make the championship, but we've been asked by the commissioners to rank the teams all the way through the championship weekend. So what does that mean here? It means the College Football Playoff Committee, they're admitting to you people, admitting to the college football world that the rankings up to this point and how things stack up are silly. They're foolish. They value teams that find a way to win and find a way to get through their schedule with undefeated or 11-1, which Miami likely will be, not to jinx them, after defeating Syracuse this weekend. It means everything you're hearing from all the talking heads and all the people about playoff positioning and the rankings and the college football playoff, it doesn't really matter because the committee member, they're telling you, said, listen, we'll rank them based on how we would project them if there was no conference championship, if the season ended today. But that's not how football works. Teams that find a way to win. It doesn't matter if it's ugly. If it doesn't matter if it's pretty, right? If you win by 50 or you win by 1 on a last second play, to them, it doesn't matter. It's about winning games and getting to the conference championship, which Miami up to this point has done a great job showing that they know how to win games. And I think that's really important going forward. And it's one of the reasons to really highlight why the College Football Playoff Committee is really high on that is for people that follow the National Football League, it's a very similar dynamic. Teams that find a way to win close games, whether you're against good teams, average teams, bad teams, they usually find a way to make deep playoff runs in those close games. That championship DNA, right? That kind of moxie you hear a lot of announcers talk about. It's a real thing. Miami has proved it this season. It's an incredibly valuable trait. It's why they are a serious threat to make a run in the college football playoff this season. I think at this point, it's all about finishing up, get a W however you can against Syracuse, then head into the conference championship game. I agree with the report as well. I don't think it matters if they win or lose that. If they go 11-1 and make the title game, they are in. So let me tell you that again, Miami Hurricanes fans. That's the final point here. My final point. If Miami beats Syracuse, they're in the college football playoff, and we know they've got the championship DNA to make a run. Exciting times down at the U.
Yeah, Nick, and I think this is obviously really great news for the Hurricanes. Like you said, I think they're going to beat Syracuse, so not to jinx them, but likely Miami will be in that college football playoff regardless of what happens in the ACC championship game. But I do agree with you. It is interesting, and a lot of teams, you bring up the NFL comparison, it's kind of like the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs,
Exactly.
they win close games. They win ugly. But what's the point of this is that they win. They get it done. They're doing it at a high level. And who cares if all season you have games like Virginia Tech where you win 38-34. You have games like Cal where you win 39-38. You have games like Georgia Tech where unfortunately you lose 28-23. If they're close games, you find a way to win. You get through. And what are the Kansas City Chiefs who've been winning a ton of last second close games? They've back-to-back Super Bowl champions. I'm going to say it likely probably going to be on their way to being at least in the contention for back-to-back Super Bowl champions. It's a good team. The good teams find ways to win. And that, at the end of the day, it's all that matters. You got to find a way to win. So good on Miami. I think it looks good for them. If they can struggle through some games and come out with a win, that looks good. If you blow everyone out, it looks like a cupcake schedule. You win all your games against your Ball States and your Florida A&M 62-0. That's not what they're looking for. They want to see teams that can get it done when it comes down to the wire, and Miami looks just like that team.
And one final, sorry to interrupt you, but one final point to end on here. You hit on something very important. The College Football Playoff Committee, the reason they value that is because they want to make sure no matter what happens, that the best team in football wins the championship or at least gets to the championship game. That's what they want to see. And there's a reason they value that characteristic, finding a way to win, ugly or not, because like you mentioned in the NFL with the Chiefs, finding a way to win means you're the best team in football. It's just the truth time and time again. Winning ugly versus winning pretty doesn't matter. The Miami Hurricanes are in a great position to finish off the regular season and get the job done. I think, and I agree with the College Football Playoff Committee member here, if they get through Syracuse, they are a serious threat to make a run at a national title.